Welcome to another edition of the YXC Sports Podcast, a special Thursday edition. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Of course, we're live on the Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar Facebook page. As you can see, we're not at Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar today, but that's okay. We're also live on the YXC Sports Podcast Facebook page and no YXC. And of course, we're live on all your streaming audio services. I guess not live, but you're listening to this. By the time you get around to listening to the audio version of this, sounds like I'm live. So we're basically live on the audio version of that anyway. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Like I said, it is Thursday. Matt Morrison, happy to be with you for another episode of the YXC Sports Podcast, and happy to have a guest along with us today, a very, very busy man, but he has taken some time to talk about what's going on in his life and what's going on in the ball hockey community. So I'm going to bring in Justin D'Entremont, who is the commissioner, the co-founder, and a player in the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League. And is that the commissioner's office that you're in there, Justin? Or?
Yeah, this is the war room, I guess.
War room, there you go.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous how many hours I spend down here.
So, well, it looks like you got a nice comfy chair, right? So that's step one.
Yeah.
You're going to be spending long hours down there. You got to have a nice comfy chair. But, yeah, it looks like you got paper all over the place and a whole bunch of notes. And as long as it makes sense to you, that's the important.
It doesn't always make sense to me either. Yeah, so, it's a video game chair.
Yeah.
So I use it down here, but anyway. Yeah.
So like I said, you are the commissioner, the co-founder, and a player in the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League. That's a lot of titles that you carry. So how do you kind of manage everything?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, just passion and the will to do it is what makes me tick. I'm not overly a smart guy. I'm not that capable in a lot of ways in life, but when it comes to ball hockey and running leagues and doing this sort of thing, it's kind of ingrained in my DNA. So to me, it's kind of easy, even though it's stressful and crazy and chaotic at times. It's what I signed up for, and it's so far so good.
It's all part of the fun, right?
Yeah.
Organized chaos.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League, what it is, how you came up with this idea, and just kind of what inspired you to kind of come up with this idea.
Yeah, for sure. I just love ball hockey, and it's since I've been playing competitively for 12 years or so, and the whole time it's come up when you're hanging out with the fellas or whatever, and you throw it around like, oh, there should be a pro league and whatever, and then there should be, and then nobody ever does anything about it. I'm sure those conversations happen all over the country. And then I just started to really think about it one day, and it was actually on my 33rd birthday, and because I noted it in my phone. That's why anyway. And I just started to really think about, well, why isn't there one? And I couldn't come up with any real reasons. And I started to dig around and wonder if there ever was a league that had failed, or who started a league and how far did they get. And turns out there's never been one. And the only reason is nobody's ever really tried. So, and then you start thinking about today's day and age, the things that can get on TV, the social media. And I mean, it just doesn't make sense that there's no professional ball hockey league or anything like that. So, I mean, I thought life is short. And now that I have this idea, now that I've done some of this work, if I don't pursue it, I will regret it forever. And so let's go for it kind of thing. And then, so I started to pursue it, and I had the ball rolling on kind of a Western Canada pro league with Calgary, Edmonton, Winnipeg, Saskatchewan in the mix. Had people lined up in each city that were all kind of saying, yeah, like I would help run a team here if the league happened. And everyone was kind of saying that, but nobody was really convinced it was going to happen. So nobody was really taking it serious. And it's a very difficult project. And especially, I'm not a educated man. I got my high school and that's it. Right. So like, I didn't know who do you talk to? How do you make that happen? We got to do this. How do you, everything was that, right? And I kept running into walls, not knowing what to do next, and just getting very frustrated, and then at one point it just clicked in my head like a cartoon moment. Light bulb went
The
off.
light bulb, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, well, like we know everybody in Saskatchewan, mostly like all the players in Saskatoon, Regina, and Lloyd. And then well, why don't we just do it? Let's just do it here. Let's do it here first, and then we'll see where it goes, and we'll try to grow it from there after. And so that light bulb moment happened in September or so just short of a year ago, and right away it all made sense. Like, no, this is how we do it. We do it in Saskatchewan first. So then I reached out to Dean Crossland, who is the other co-founder. He's the president of Ball Hockey Saskatchewan and personally one of my best friends. And it was an easy conversation. I said, like, Dean, like, he knew and he was with me trying to get the pro league and everything. So I just said, let's shift it a bit here. Let's just do it here. And it was right away like, yeah, okay. Like, and off we were. We just started spreading the word, and I started putting some PowerPoint presentations together to show the players, and we started reaching out looking for team managers, and it all just started from there. And I never stopped, and now we're here, and we have our second game day coming up in a couple days. So it's pretty cool. It's exciting. It's a bit surreal. After our first games, there's a couple times it's almost like really, like we're off and running now, are we? Like the games have happened. Like it's pretty exciting. It's pretty cool.
It's almost hard to believe, right? You put in all that work and you do all that. You know, you were telling me about how, kind of not stressed you were, but you just wanted to make sure that everything was all good. And then all of a sudden, there's all this worry, and then the day happens. And of course, I was behind the mic for all 4 games and for the whole season, which I'm super proud to be behind the mic for. But, to me, that whole day back on July 24th kind of just went off without a hitch.
Yeah.
Right? And then you look back at it and it's like, oh, I worried about that, or I worried about this. And, that situation never came up, or this situation never came up. But you're right. So July 24th was the inaugural day of the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League. August 7th, which is this upcoming Saturday, is week number 2, if you want to call it, out in Dalmany. And we'll get to that in a little bit. But looking back at July 24th, the opening weekend or the opening day of the league, what were your initial thoughts on how everything played out on that day?
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, everything went pretty smooth. Like everything was ran. It went well. Mm-hmm. The only issues were like tiny things. I forgot to supply the PA announcer with the first names for the players. And then so the first game happened, and there was a couple times where Kelsey Huffnagel, who she owns MR Promo, one of our sponsors, she was also doing the on the PA system. So she was on the spot trying to call a goal or an assist, and then you could tell she didn't have the first name because I forgot to supply. So she had to just wing it. So that was my fault. And so those are the only issues we had, which are for a first time league, first games. Like if that's the only issues we had, then it seemed like we'll take it. That's not bad at all. And then having you on the mic, Matt, was great. All 4 games are that have been played are up on our YouTube channel now. So you just search Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League and you'll find our YouTube channel. The first 2 games are up week ago or 5 days ago or something, and then the third and fourth games were put up last night. So all 4 games are there for anyone to go watch now. You sound great, Matt, by the way.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm super happy to have you. And then the games, the games were good.
There was an overtime game in the mix too, right? I mean, you can't ask for more. Not to steal your thunder, but I guess you could kind of allude to how you set up. So there's 4 teams in the league, and the 2 teams played each other twice, right? So what was it? The first game, the Snowbirds, who that's your team, beat the Axemen 9-3. The Bucks beat the Ravens 6-5 in game 2. Game 3 had the Snowbirds and the Axemen again. That was a 5-4 overtime victory for the Snowbirds, and then the Bucks beat the Ravens 7-4 in the 4th and final game. So to me, up in the booth, I always found myself in the game. You know what I mean? They were relatively close. even that 9-3 Snowbirds victory, right? The first game of the afternoon. To me, it started that the Axemen kind of came out of the gate firing there a little bit, and it seemed like they had the momentum, and then you guys kind of got your feet underneath you. I don't know if you would agree with that statement or not, but yeah, I thought all teams are kind of evenly matched, and I can't wait to see what August 7th, this upcoming Saturday, brings us.
Yeah, well, any draft type of situation, like we had a player draft, and then whenever you do a draft with everyone taking it serious, like the teams are going to be pretty even because of the players. Obviously, they just get distributed one at a time to all the teams, so it's going to work out. All the teams they're pretty even, but it's sports, so some games teams are going to have a bad game and good game or whatever, so the odd lopsided score might happen like in that first game. But you're right. The Axemen came out very strong, and I'm a player on the Snowbirds. So on our bench, we were definitely back on our heels there for the first 5 or 6 minutes. But it was good. The games they're going to be exciting. They're all good. There's a lot of good players, a lot of good athletes. Yeah, it was very good that the Axemen came out. Maybe once the game got going, once the Snowbirds put up a couple goals, the compete level might have dropped a little. And somebody, I think, probably said something after the first game. And then because they came out real tough in the second game there. Yeah. That was a battle. That was a grind. Yeah. I was beat up there for like 4 days. So it was good. Let me allude to what you said a couple minutes ago. So the reason the schedule is like that is it's just a short season here in the first season. So it's a 6-game regular season. Every game day, each team plays 2 games. So 6 games, 4 teams. So the Snowbirds will play everybody twice, and that's the end of your regular season. So because we have 4 games on one game day, it just made more sense to have the 2 teams play each other twice that day. And the reason it makes sense is because any other way you do it, if you have the Axemen playing the Ravens and then the Axemen playing the Bucks on the same day, then there's no way to get around a team playing a back-to-back. And to me, that's just not fair. If you have a game at 5 o'clock and somebody's fresh and another team just played a 2-hour game, like that's just not fair. So to me, it was, you have the same 2 teams playing at 1 and then at 5, and it's fair. So that's what it's all about, plain and simple. So
well, and you kind of saw that back on July 24th, right? Obviously, like I said, you guys, the Snowbirds, beat the Axemen 9-3 in game 1. Well, they had that break, that 2-hour break or that 1-hour break while the Bucks and Ravens played their first game. And then you saw the Axemen, they were kind of able to recover a little bit and regroup and re-energize. And then they came out and, it was a hard-fought overtime battle, right?
Yeah.
So, you just don't know, like you said, you just don't know what you're going to be getting in all of sports, really. But,
yeah.
A team could have a stinker one game, and then when they drop the ball 2 hours later, it could be a completely different team.
Yeah, and those games were very different too, because there were barely any penalties, if any, in the first game.
Yeah.
So it was all a lot of 5-on-5, and then the second game of the Axemen Snowbirds was a parade to the penalty box there for a while. So the special teams got to show their stuff, and the Snowbirds never held the lead at all in that game. Axemen kept going up by 1, and then Snowbirds would tie it over and over, and then late goal to tie it at the end of regulation, and then the power play in overtime. Joel Thompson got the winner there, and a backdoor pass from Brock Harrison. It was good. Yeah.
And then the first Bucks-Ravens game, looked like the Bucks were going to run away with that one. The Ravens had a second half comeback, almost pulled it off.
Yeah.
Almost pulled that or got that game to overtime as well. So in my opinion, like I said, I don't know, you're running around being the co-founder and the commissioner, so I don't know how much of that first Bucks-Ravens game you got to see, but it was fantastic to call.
Yeah, I've gone through the video several times now, so I feel like I've seen everything at this point. Yeah, I mean, I guess one thing worth noting is the Ravens had a short bench the first game day they had, and some important players were not there, so that was kind of unfortunate for them. But I mean, it's not things are not perfect right now. COVID situation is just ending, so ball hockey is kind of competing with all the other sports that are just firing up again, and all the lake people. Everyone goes to the lake and all those things. So they had the Ravens' strength is their back end is on D. So like they had Evan Pasternak, their first round pick, I believe, was couldn't make the first game, and he's a dominant defenseman. Robert Keller is a defenseman with men's A nationals experience. He wasn't there. Ruben Beatty, another top end defenseman, wasn't there, and then Dane Bumfrey, one of their top center, wasn't there. So you miss those type of players. I mean, you're not going to be as good as you would be if they were there,
right?
And then combat that with how they're playing against the Bucks, and the Bucks' strength are their big, powerful forwards in Josh Anderson, Terrell Droughty, Josh Grimm, Connor Navrot. So you got the total strength going against what would be the Ravens' strength, but they're not here today. So, so that's why, yeah, it did seem like the Bucks might run away with it there early, and that was with full lineups there. I think those are pretty evenly matched teams, but I mean, that's the way it goes sometimes. But nonetheless, Ravens found a way to get back in it, like you're saying, and it made it fun.
Yeah, well, and Terrell Droughty, I mean, to me, I think he was kind of the star of the entire
of the day,
right? What was it? He was in on 6 of the 7 Bucks goals, and in the second of the game that those two played, he had four of those were goals. He was just all over the floor.
Yeah, well,
and making his presence felt, right? He's just that big body that can get to the net, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, T is a good player. T, we call him Terrell. Yeah. He played in the Western Hockey League for Calgary Hitmen. He's 24 years old, I think. He's in great shape now. He's just a big, strong guy who can score, and he's powerful. Like he's definitely a huge threat in our league. Yeah. You don't want him with the ball on his stick in the slot or the high slot.
Barreling down on you. Like if I'm a defenseman and I see him coming at me full speed, I'm probably just going to get out of the way.
Yeah.
It's going to make me look silly either way, right?
Close your eyes. Close your eyes and hope for the best.
Hope for the best, right? So, of course, we are live at Wendell Clark, or we're not live at Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar, but we're live on their Facebook page because they are a super awesome sponsor. And we're going to switch gears for 2 seconds because the Rider season starts tomorrow, and head on down to Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar. $5 bevies during the Rider games. You can win tickets to home games. There's going to be a draw for a Rider mini fridge as well. So make sure you go on down to Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar on Idlewild and Circle Drive. Get yourself in for that mini fridge and watch the Riders beat up on the BC Lions. We do have a comment on the live stream, and that is from Monty, and he asks where we can watch the ball hockey. And I'm going to steal your thunder again, Justin, but this upcoming Saturday in Delmany, first game's at 1 o'clock, 1, 3, 5, 7. $15 admission. That gets you a day pass, and then all the games are on YouTube as well. If you can't make it out in person, all the games are on YouTube on the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League YouTube channel. The links are in the comments there as well. So August 7th. Now, I do have to admit, Justin, I don't have the schedule for August 7th right in front of me, but I'm assuming that you know that offhand, off your heart. So what is the schedule looking like for this upcoming Saturday?
Yeah, at 1 o'clock and 5 o'clock is the Axemen versus the Ravens. And then the other games at 3 and 7 are Bucks versus Snowbirds. So we got the 2 top teams at the top of the standings going head to head for 2 games here, and then the 3rd and 4th place teams going head to head. So it'll be exciting. Definitely be exciting. Another thing worth noting is starting on Monday in Calgary is the Canadian Ball Hockey Association A national event. So there's a good chunk of the Premier League players are heading to Calgary right after this game day to compete against the best players in the country, compete together against the best players in the country. So everyone's gearing up. We had just a regular SBHL game last night, and a lot of guys are getting together, a lot of excitement going on. So it's an exciting time right now for us and for ball hockey. And yeah, no, I'm looking forward to this Saturday. Of course, like I said, I'll be behind the mic out in Dalmany as well. And yeah, you got the top 2 teams. Those are going to be fantastic. And then, standings wise, obviously you got the bottom 2 teams, but I mean, those could have changed depending on how week 1 went, right? I mean, the time this weekend's or this Saturday's over, by the time those 4 games are over, those standings could look, potentially completely different than they do right now. Oh, they will. They will look different for sure. One thing we could mention is some of the rule changes that we've implemented here. which
I mean,
are
obviously, ball hockey as a whole, besides the Premier League, ball hockey as a whole has some different rule changes from ice hockey. Most notably, the floating blue line, right? So once you get the ball over the blue line, you kind of have the whole offensive zone from the red line to the goal line to play with. So that's just a regular ball hockey rule that I really enjoy. It gives you more room, especially when you're on the bigger ice surfaces like Dalmeny or like Warman, right? But yeah, I'm not going to steal your thunder, so you can say what these rule changes are. I've stolen enough of your thunder throughout this episode.
No thunder stealing. It's okay.
A couple unique rule changes. So first of all, tell us about the two big rule changes that you told me about the penalties and the power plays, and then what could be considered a goal and how you came up with those rule changes.
Yeah, you bet. Just to actually add to the floating blue line that you mentioned, Matt, for people that don't know, and especially for hockey fans, that's the main difference in terms of rules in ball hockey and ice hockey. So once the offensive team gains the blue line essentially disappears, and then the center red line becomes where the zone starts. So the D actually stand just inside the center red line in the offensive zone, as opposed to on the ice or just inside the blue line. So you have the whole half of the zone to work with. And it's odd to when you first start seeing it, being a hockey person, but once you get used to it, it's good. It's better because ball hockey has a bit of like lacrosse within it, or like soccer or basketball, because you're on your feet. So it doesn't flow quite as good as hockey does, because you're on skates and you're always moving and whatever. So having that whole half the rink to whip it around and keep possession, it makes the game, it makes ball hockey better. It's awesome. But that's a regular ball hockey rule,
Yeah.
like you mentioned. Now in the Premier League, some of the interesting things that we've added are I'll jump right to the fun one. You're allowed to kick the ball in the net. Now this always gets an interesting reaction from people. So this was my idea, and it came from like, well, why shouldn't we be able to? Was my thought, because the rule is obviously comes from ice hockey, and on the ice we can't have people kicking around because you have knives on your feet. You know, that's pretty dangerous. That makes total sense. We can't have people with their feet up and whatever. So, but in ball hockey, we're just wearing shoes. So what's the safety concern here? As long as you don't allow drop kicking and bicycle kicks and no Liu Kang out there or anything. But so the idea is you can kick the ball in the net as long as it's a forward motion with your foot. You can't swing, you can't wind up and then hiya, kick it, but you can just go forward. So if there's like a goal mouth scramble and I'm trying to score and somebody has my hands tied up and I'm battling and the ball squirts loose, if I just go forward with my right foot, I can kick that ball in the net. And that's a perfectly legal goal. So it hasn't happened yet, but I love it. I can't wait for somebody to score that way, and then we'll kind of promote it and talk about it, because it's unique. I don't know of any leagues that do that, but it makes sense. And if the season ends and now we have added 2 or 3 or 4 goals to the league for that season because of this rule, then to me that's a plus. More goals is good. People like goals, you know.
Well, and you know that when that happens, I think it's only going to be a matter of time. I do think that before the league is over, the season is over, that will happen a few times, and you just know that when it does happen, it's just going to be mad chaos, right? Because you're going to have so many people, even though that's the rule, you're going to have so many people that you know, their instinct says that's no goal, right? So it's going to be interesting to see when that actually happens.
Yeah.
What kind of reaction both teams are going to give.
I know, it's I can't wait. it's gonna be awesome. So that's the big one, and it's pretty. Just the thought of that is exciting to me.
Right.
I think that in itself too, like if that happens in a noticeable way that we get on camera, like that in itself can draw a lot of attention. We start spreading that out, and like sports fans and hockey fans will see that, and that'll stick in their head. We're like, oh, like, wow, cool! Like they can kick it in this league, and like. I don't know. I think there's no reason, there's no negatives to it, really.
Right.
I mean, it's how I see it. Another thing we're trying to do is we're trying to get cross-checking out of the sport, kind of like totally get it out of there. Like little in hockey, the little cross checks to the hip and the lower back and stuff in front of the net from defensemen, like it's a regular thing to try to move bodies around and whatever, and that's fine. But also in the ice, you're wearing hockey pants and shoulder pads, and so there's padding there. But in ball hockey, we don't wear equipment, especially on our upper body. Like it's just nothing. It's just you and a jersey. So any cross check, it's right to the body, and it hurts. And it hurts. It's like you're using a stick to hit right on a hip bone or whatever, and
ribs.
Yeah. And it's kind of brutal. So like that's where it comes from. It's like we shouldn't have that in our game. That's different because we're not wearing equipment. So the rule is any cross check, if you're away from the play, if the ball's in the corner and you're in front, just working a man-on-man situation. And if you have your stick with two hands like this and you use it to make contact with a player to try to box them out or anything, it's a cross-checking penalty. And it's already annoyed some people because it's instinct for a lot of defensemen, especially. You just do that, but I want to get it out of the game because I don't think there's a spot for it in ball hockey. Again, because we don't wear equipment, and you're just using an object, a weapon, and I don't know, it's brutal. So the rule is you could take one hand off your stick, and then you use your free hand, and you can put your free hand on the body, and you can push them 100%, like as hard as you can, as if your hand on the body, or if you're two hands on your stick, you can use your top hand to push them, as long as you're not
got the butt end.
Yeah. But like it's about using your hands to push as opposed to your a weapon. So you can compete as absolutely 100% as hard as you can, but just use your hands and bend your knees, use your legs for body position instead of that weapon, because that weapon hurts. So that's where that one comes from. In the CBHA rule book, they say flooring instead of icing.
Right.
And to me, that just makes me cringe. That's embarrassing, I find. So even though nobody says it, like you go watch a game, they ice, like they say icing, but in the rule book, it says flooring. So I just want to verbalize it that we call it icing because everyone knows what icing is. And flooring is just
I can guarantee you at no point during the 4 games that I called a couple weeks ago, and probably at no point during the season am I ever going to refer to it as flooring. So
yeah.
That makes you feel a little bit better.
Well, nobody does. The refs, or nobody does. But I noticed it in the rule book. And at Nationals, the odd time I've heard it at CBHA Nationals. So I don't know. To me, that just makes people laugh. And if we're trying to get people to take the sport seriously, so we don't want to. So just call it icing. Right. Yeah, there's no ice, but everyone knows what icing is, right?
Exactly.
And then, so a penalized player, like if there's a player in a penalty box who took a penalty, his team is shorthanded. If his team scores a shorthanded goal, he then comes out of the penalty box, which happened once in the Bucks and Ravens game. The game was kind of already getting out of hand, so it didn't really matter much. But in a close game or whatever, this could be huge. I got this idea from Jeff Merrick, listening to the Hockey Central podcast a year ago or something. He just kind of casually said it, and they never even stopped to go deeper into it. I just heard it and it stuck in my head, and I was like, "Whoa, that's a cool idea." Talk about a penalty kill,
Yeah.
So that's it, and try it out and see how it goes. So if you're shorthanded, so it's shorthanded goals happen quite a bit less frequently in ball hockey, just the way it goes. You don't see forecheckers shorthanded like sometimes you do on the ice, but in ball hockey, not so much. But now there's more emphasis to go for it. Yeah. Because you can, so it's pretty cool. I think it could end up having huge momentum swings in close games and stuff like that. So
yeah, let's say there's a tie game or a team that gets penalized is down by a goal with a few minutes left. And then all of a sudden they come up with a way to score a shorthanded goal. Not only do they either take the lead or potentially tie the game, but then they're not on the kill anymore, right? They go back to 5-on-5 or whatever the situation may be. So I really like that one too. And like you said, that did happen. I believe it was during the second Bucks and Ravens game, but
so.
Yeah, it happened once. So I think that's only going to happen more as the season goes on.
I think it was Terrell as well, and one of his 12 goals he had or whatever.
Exactly. But there's good players all across. I mean, the Axemen, right, with Laframboise and Christian Magnus on the Axemen, right? I mean, it's only going to be a matter of time before they kind of get their bearings and start to have some success, in my opinion, anyways, just based off of what I saw in the first two games. So the second week is coming up this Saturday, August 7th, from Dalmany. And then how does the rest of the season play out?
Yeah, that's game day number 2. Game day number 3 is, off the top of my head, I believe it's August 28th. Mm-hmm. So 3 Saturdays later. And then that's it for the regular season. So that is everybody playing twice per game day. So that's your 6-game regular season. And then championship weekend is September
18th, 19th.
There you go.
Hey, I listen.
Yeah. So that would championship weekend will be over 2 days. So it'll be Saturday, Sunday, and the playoff format is initially we're going to have the bottom team doesn't make playoffs, and then we just go to top 3. But we changed it kind of last minute, just before the draft, just because this year was thrown together so quick, and there are a lot of players that are playing that have to miss certain weekends and this and that. And it just seemed you'd hate for a team to miss out on playoffs, and it's just you look back and it was kind of because their best players had a wedding on a weekend, that sort of thing. So we thought it would be more fair if we do it. So we're going to do it's like a curling draw. So the first game on championship weekend is the first and second teams play each other. Winner goes to the final. Third and fourth teams play each other. Loser is eliminated. So then the winner of that game and the loser of the first game play in the other semifinal. And then the winner of that plays the first place team. So it'll be 4 games again throughout those 2 days. And everything's a 1-game situation. There's no series or anything. So that's how we're doing it in year 1. In year 2, things will be a little different, but this year, this is the COVID year and the first season, and we made it happen. And this is how we're doing it. And so far so good. I think it's going to go well.
Like if everything goes how it did back on July 24th out in Mormon, then there's no reason to be concerned or worried about anything, because like I said, that first weekend went off without a hitch from what I saw, and I think things are only going to get better. So a few more weeks to come out and watch in person. If you can't make it in person, of course, head over to YouTube in the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League on YouTube. All the games are posted there. Justin, you're a busy guy, so I'll let you get back to doing war room things back down there in your commissioner co-founder office. But thanks so much for taking the time. We do have a website as well, Ian, if you could throw up the website graphic there, Premier Ball Hockey or PremierLeagueBallHockey.com. So www.PremierLeagueBallHockey.com is the website. It's a heck of a website. Player stats, there's game summaries on there, rosters. Each player has a bio, and you can also volunteer. That's something that I want to make clear as well. So if you're interested in volunteering, coming out, volunteering, and watching some great ball hockey, head over to that website, and that'll take you to another email address that you can volunteer at. So, Justin, like I said, appreciate the time, and this is a great thing you have going, and I can't wait to see where it goes. Yeah, well, thanks a lot for having me. I mean, we're just trying to get more eyes and ears on the league, on the sport of ball hockey. So this, of course, is going to help, and I'm pumped to have you on board, Matt, obviously. And it's exciting times. Yeah, no, I appreciate it. It's always nice to get back behind the mic. So I know you and I were talking yesterday, and I won't give away too many secrets, but I'll just say that maybe we'll have to do another episode soon. I think we probably should. I think we probably will. All right, Justin, thanks a bunch. Okay, right on.
Thanks.
Justin D'Entremont, the commissioner, the co-founder, and a player in the Saskatchewan Premier Ball Hockey League. So thanks so much to him. Thanks so much to everybody for tuning in. And we should be back to regularly scheduled Monday programming this upcoming week. So if you don't like listening to me, well, then you get a few days of a break. But we should be back live at Wendell Clark's Classic Grill and Bar on August 9th, I guess it would be. See you all then. Have a great weekend. Until then, stay safe.